Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tamisha, the Codepreneur, as well as your transformational coach here on YouTube, keeping it raw, real, and relatable. Always trying to bring you guys the best of the best when it comes to information and just navigating this world of occupational therapy. So in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about if you're struggling with breaking down MBCOT questions, what should you do? So I hope that these 3 tips that I'm going to give to you is going to make a difference. All right, let's jump right into it. All right, let's go. So one thing before we actually get started, if you guys hear my kids crying in the background, sorry, I'm a mom, I have kids, I try my best to make these videos, but sometimes you're gonna have the children in the background. So please don't let it be a distraction. All right, let's get going with the video. So the first thing that I wanna talk about, that if you are struggling to break down these questions is I want you to think about your comprehension. So when I mention comprehension, I want you to think about how are you reading these questions, okay? If you find yourself rereading and rereading, if you find yourself doubting what you just read, if you find yourself reading and then thinking like, I have no idea what I just read, and then again, now you have to read it all over again, you may be having a comprehension difficulty. Okay, there may be an issue with your understanding of the information. So you need to figure out, are you struggling with understanding the goal of the question? Are you struggling with the diagnosis that might be mentioned in the question? If it's a mental health question, it might be, are you unfamiliar with what schizophrenia is? Are you unfamiliar with the interventions required for bipolar? If it's a pediatric questions, are you struggling with the different diagnoses often seen in pediatrics? Are you struggling with like the reflexes? Okay, so when you're reading and you're struggling with these questions, it might be just the information in the question you're just not certain about. Okay, so you really going to need to check your understanding and your comprehension. And here's a tip for you. And I mentioned this to those that are in my Study with the Coda course. And I tell them, I said, one thing that you can do when you are reading the question is I want you to get into the mindset as you are the coda. Okay, so you want to visualize what is actually being said in the question that you're reading and the scenario you're providing. And I want you to put yourself into that space as, okay, I'm the coda in this particular question. What would be the best practice, okay, for for me to use or for me to do? Okay, and I think when you put yourself in this mindset of thinking of yourself in the question versus out being in the out looking in, it really puts you into a different perspective and a different mindset. And remember, when you're answering these questions, even though there might be two answer choices that seem to be correct, you always want to pick what is the best pertaining to that question. Never assume, okay? Never assume. Just read it word for word for directly what it's asking you. All right? That's tip number one. Now, tip number two is this: you have to create a strategy. All right? It's just not enough to study and do different things with your studying. What I mean by that, I mean, it's not enough to memorize this part and not memorize that part. Or maybe you use a strategy of just reading through information and picking and choosing what you're going to decide to memorize, what you're not going to memorize. Maybe going again, reading through the information and not putting any strategies like, maybe one day you use a flashcard and then the next day you're using this and another day you're using that. You need to first really understand what your study style is, because if you're trying to do all these different things, one day you're listening to the audio, the next day you're watching video, another day you're using a flashcard, another day you're looking at a graph, another day you're looking at pictures. There's just a lot of stimulation. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot for your brain to have to look at all these different things that you're doing. So you really want to start to really own in on your personal study style. Now, if you guys don't know what your study style is, I do have a free download in the description box that really takes you through a quiz to help you figure out what your study style is. Now, we all have a dominant study style. All right. So you can either be a visual learner, auditory, or kinesthetic learner. Like I said, we all have all three of these components, but there is one that is the dominant. And whenever you have that dominant particular learning style, you want to really feed into that and own into that and let that be your main tactic. Okay. So when it comes down to creating a strategy, it can be a mnemonic, it can be a jingle, it can be a flow chart. Okay. Not to say that this is the only thing, but you really should pick maybe two or three particular strategies that you do use and really try to stick with that and not keep going all over the place. All right. I know in my course, I really own in on a mnemonic. I found that to be the best technique for all types of learners. So definitely own in on what is your style and pick what works best for you. If you're going to say, I'm going to use flashcards, then use it. Use your flashcards, all right? But make sure that as you're using it, you are seeing a difference. If you're not seeing a difference, if you feel like you're not retaining the information, then you may need to switch it up. All right. And then the third thing I want to share with you is this. It is okay to ask others how the exam was for them. So a lot of you most likely will probably still be in contact with your classmates. Even some of you may also be in Facebook groups. It is really a good idea to speak to those that went before you to get their opinion and not just to speak to one person, but speak to multiple people and say, hey, can I just ask for your honest opinion on how was this exam? What did you notice the flow of the exam was? What kind of tips would you advise? How was it for you when you were studying? Did you feel like studying a certain way really helped you pass? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? All of these are really good questions. All right. Now, feel free if you want to ask me these questions. I have no problem with answering them. If you want to get involved in my free Facebook group, there's also a link in the description below where you can come into the group. This group is designated specifically for OTA students that are graduates and those that are either testing for the first time or repeat test takers. And that's a perfect setting because people in the group have also went through the course and they have passed their exam. So you can always put into the chat there, hey, just want to get the opinion from those that have passed their exam if you're willing to give me some advice on what you did, what worked for you, what didn't. As well as if you want to come in the group and ask that question to me, I'll be more than happy to answer it. But I do think it would probably be best to speak to someone that recently took the exam. So again, I hope that this was helpful in helping you figure out how you can go ahead and break down these questions. In recap, you want to make sure that you, one, have good comprehension of what you're actually reading. It's not enough to just read the question. You want to actually understand what you're reading and own in and figure out where you're going wrong and why you're not being able to break this question down in a way that's going to get you to the right answer. Secondly, you want to create a strategy for yourself. You want to have a study plan and you want to be able to use things that's going to help you to recall. That could be a mnemonic, that can be a jingle, that can be a flow chart, that can be maybe flashcards. So you want to find your particular strategy that's going to help you. And then third, you want to seek out the opinions of those that went before you. Definitely speaking to those that recently took their exam, they can have the most and freshest insight for people that are planning on taking their exam very soon. So I hope that this video is helpful. If you are interested and you are like, Tamisha, I really need help breaking down these questions. It has been a struggle. I've been really working at it and I just feel like I'm missing something. Then I implore you to go ahead and check out Study with a Coda course. It is in the description below. And until next time, bye-bye.